Hi guys, this is Klazart, being another audio commentary, and this time I'm commentating on the OSL, OSL, Round of 8 quarterfinals, Game 2 matchup between Julyzerg and TheRock, and this is being played on Hwarangdo. Just a word of warning, I will be discussing the results of the game of Flash versus Luxury in this game, of that best of 3, so if you don't want that spoiled for you, I suggest you go and watch that game now, otherwise you will unfortunately have that result spoiled for you. So you've been warned, and I hereby abdicate all responsibility. So I think July's got to have in his mind the thought that Flash is now out of the tournament, and that's got to be something that's going to spur him on, because I would have felt that personally that Flash was probably his greatest obstacle to that golden mouse, and I think now July's got to be licking his lips. He's going to be driven, he's going to be focused, and I think he's going to wipe the floor with Rock today, even though they are playing on Hwarangdo, a map that we've seen Zergs tumble on. We saw Jaedong go out on this, who was the premier Zerg at the time, but I've got to say that despite the emergence of great new Zerg players, and July sending a drone out quite early to scout, it would seem, or perhaps he's going to try something riskier, we'll see in a moment here, and I think it's important on a map like this because it takes so long for the Overlord to get across that it's almost pointless sending it out to begin with. Looks like TheRock has put down his pylon and started up his gateway, and I think it's important to scout early for a Zerg player to know exactly what your opponent is doing, because this is the kind of map where Zerg players are very vulnerable to proxy builds and to cheese builds and to rushes, and we've seen Zerg players fall prey to that. So I think July is making the absolute right decision by scouting early. He just completely wiped the floor with Rock in the previous game. He just cleaned up the mess, and TheRock now taking his limiter. July's got his drone and he's going to get the scout off quite comfortably. TheRock only now sending out his probe to scout July. And it looks like July is looking to expand first. I haven't seen him put his spawning pool down. So July's taking his natural expansion. It'll be just interesting to see if he hasn't started up his spawning pool yet. So it looks like July's gone for a 12 hatchery build, and we've got a ninja in the crowd. No doubt in my mind that has to be, even though I can't read Korean, July's a July fan. So yeah, he just completely wiped, and meanwhile Cybernetics Core also going off Rock. He completely wiped the floor with Rock's mess in the previous game, and unfortunately he just left a smudge behind, and he's back here to clean up the smudge as far as I'm concerned. So TheRock now coming in with his probe, he's going to see that 12 hash build for July, and he's going to see that July probably just started up his spawning pool now. He's also taking his extractor, so it'll be interesting. July is one of the players that's capable of playing a 2 hatchery build and dominating his opponents with it because of his insane ability to micro and his great mechanics, and I think that's something that would suit him on a map like Hwarangdo, where other Zerg players might struggle, and July just trying to use his drone, and only July can do these little tricks to use the drone. Most other players, I think, when they use their drone to do these kind of tricks and just harass their opponent and try and steal some minerals, would end up damaging their own economy because they'd leave something untended in their base. But July's micro is such that he can just he can do so much simultaneously when he's playing at his best, and that's what gives him the edge in these encounters. Robotics facility now going down for TheRock, and July's going to see this, so I'm not sure. He seems to be just going straight tech, really fast straight tech, but it's not really going to bother July too much because July has seen it and he's going to be able to counter. But now July is taking to lair and he's seen it, so July is going indeed for a 2 hatchery build, and as I said, he's one of the few Zerg players who really has it. We've seen Jaedong adopted as well recently, although July is the player who I believe is most successful at using it in the modern game of StarCraft. Obviously in the olden days a lot of players used to do that, and July, being the old school player, is a veteran of that. And I have to say, while we've seen new Zerg players emerging, and TheRock completely unable to ward that drone away of July's, and July's micro just so superior, TheRock forced to wait until he gets a Dragoon out to try and get that, and July's been scouting all along, and even now he's going to try and get that drone through, and actually his drone survives with just a single Dragoon hit, and if that's not impressive micro, I don't know what is. But even though there have been more Zerg players of late that have excited me, and Robotics support bay going down for TheRock quite predictably, but I'm not sure how effective this strategy is going to be for TheRock. July's got his lair up, he's putting his spire down now, and TheRock with only 1 gateway, and July, it'll be interesting if July can actually ward that probe away. I'm not sure if that probe was within range to see that spire go down behind the minerals, although I'm sure, having seen the lair and seen that there's no Hydra's den, he's going to anticipate that spire. But the question is, TheRock has invested so much in getting that robotics support bay down. He's going to be producing a Reaver and Shuttle. Is he going to have the resources then on a map like this to actually, and July trying to stop that probe from getting in, and again, unless a Zerg player would have not been able to prevent that scout, July able to stop that scout, and that's going to give him a slight advantage as well. He's also got 4 Zerg He's just positioned south of TheRock's map, and just for Rock's ramp, and just for reference, TheRock is at the top left-hand corner of the map at the 11 o'clock position playing Protoss in brown, and July at the bottom right-hand corner of the map playing Zerg in white. And TheRock now's got his shuttle out, but July is just completely going to be anticipating. He's positioning his Zergling strategically across the map so that he can see where TheRock's shuttle comes off from. And TheRock, having decided to adopt a very defensive strategy, July therefore has put down his third hatchery now at the expo just north of his main. So TheRock finally moving out. He probably has a couple of Zealots and a Reaver in that. The problem for July is that he doesn't have a lot of ground units. He doesn't have a lot of he doesn't have any Hydralisks. He's only got Zerglings, and July might find himself in a little bit of trouble here. If TheRock can be effective in this harass, he can really slow July down. The only thing that is in July's favor is that he's completely anticipating it. I think the Spire is up, so those are Mutalisks building, and it's just a question on that shuttle, obviously not speed upgraded yet, and it's just a question of whether or not July is going to have those Mutalisks out in time to avoid taking too much. And now July is definitely seen where that shuttle is coming from. So July, it's going to come down. And again, July's micro is going to come into play here, immediately moving the drones away. First Scarab shot going to waste. Scourge is coming out for July. Brilliance by July. And unfortunately, TheRock tried and the shuttle goes down, and this is going to be GG right here, folks. This is going to be the end of TheRock in the OSL, and July is going to go through to the next round comfortably. TheRock going for such an obvious and jaded strategy. It really looked like he's a player who has completely run out of ideas on a map that should really favor the Protoss players, and I think that's a July fan. I'm still pretty confident July fan. So TheRock's lone Zealot not getting killed, and I completely didn't anticipate that July, knowing exactly what his opponent was up to, could just produce a couple of Scourges from the Spire and take that shuttle out, probably because most Zerg players these days aren't nearly as precognizant as July was there, and he took that shuttle out. TheRock obviously having no air defense, going straight for the and if you're going to go for a strategy like that, you've got to prevent the scout. But July, and I think TheRock had his strategy in mind. I think TheRock's biggest failure was his failure to adapt, was his reluctance to adapt, and now July coming in with a group of Mutalisks. TheRock has got about 4 Dragoons, but July's micro is going to come into play here yet again. He's trying to pick up, and TheRock trying to micro his way out of this hole that he's dug himself into. The first Dragoon is going to go down. Another shuttle has come out for TheRock. I don't think it's going to bother July too much. He's just in such a strong position because TheRock has done 0 damage to his economy. TheRock sending another shuttle down. The problem is, how is he going to defend it? July's just going to take it down with another couple of Scourge, and he's going to do no damage to July's economy whatsoever. He's just trying to buy himself some time, but July's got his 3 hatcheries going now, and his economy is in a far superior state. I have to say, I think TheRock didn't anticipate July scouting as early as he did, and once July obviously got that, and he probably hoped that he would be able to close off with that early gateway his ramp before July's drone could get up there, assuming that July coming in with the Mutalisks completely fearless. And this is what makes me a StarCraft fan. This is what makes me a Zerg fan. If it was the pure brilliance and perfection of the play of players like Savior that drew me to Zerg as a StarCraft fan, it is the audacity and fearlessness of July that keeps me one, I have to say. So I think TheRock, and that shuttle finally going to get taken down. Rock with a decent bit of micro, trying to keep that shuttle alive against the Scourges. Now speed upgraded, gives him a little bit more time, but I still feel he's going to get picked up before he can get back to the refuge of those Dragoons waiting back in his base. Meanwhile, July bringing back the Mutalist is going to comfortably pick that Reaver off, and TheRock just completely at sea without a paddle. Doesn't have a clue what he's going to do. And I have to say, I think TheRock didn't anticipate July's scout coming in so early. He'd relied on catching July by surprise. Once July got that drone in his base and was able to keep it alive, he just knew exactly what TheRock was coming and what TheRock was going to produce, and was completely and utterly prepared for it. TheRock now sending a group of Dragoons down as his final last best hope, which really is no hope at all. A couple of Zealots coming down as well, but July's got Zerglings to support his Mutalisks, and he's going to just wipe the floor with the remainder of Rock's forces and comfortably march into the next round, clearing up the smudge that he'd left behind the last time. Comfortable victory for July. He doesn't even need to micro his Dragoons. He's just going to leave them on attack move and finish off TheRock's remaining forces. And really, TheRock should have GG'd a long time ago. This is a hopeless game for him. And we've seen 2 very one-sided contests in this round, and I'm looking forward to seeing July in the next round. He's looking dangerous and ominous, and he's just, although probably TheRock has flattered him a little bit, Rock has probably made July look a little bit better than he might be, although it's impossible to say just how good July is. We're not going to see, unfortunately, a matchup between July and Flash, and it'll be interesting to see who he comes up in the next round against. It's likely to be either another Protoss player or Luxury, and really I have to say the odds are stacked heavily in July's favor. But I have to say, once TheRock saw that scout was in and that July was going to see that robotics facility, there was just no way that he should have kept on going with that tech and gone for the Reaver. He should have tried to adapt, tried to change his strategy, tried to put a little bit of pressure on July. Instead, he just went with his pre-practice strategy, unable to adapt, without any flexibility, and he's paid the price from it. paid the price for it, and I have to say, I'm not sorry to see him go out. I consider him to be a distinctly uninteresting player to watch. I know he's got his fans. I don't know why. I'm sure he's played some good StarCraft at some point in time, but that was hardly it. So July marching through to the next round, and in my view, now favorite from what I've seen to win this competition, and be the second to stake that claim on the Golden Mouse. And it's good to see. It's good to see the God of War back in splintering form, and he's just going to be. I think it's going to be scary, whoever comes up against July. I think you just have to be scared, because he's just completely insane. He's just not afraid of doing anything. He's not afraid of just going two hatcheries into Mutalisk straight up on a map like Hwarangdo. He's just not afraid of challenging his opponents and committing himself to attacks where the numbers seem stacked against him, and still pulling out the victory by sheer skill. And that is what July embodies, sheer skill. And this is